This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Brad, how you doing today? What's new?
I'm all right, Phil. Still kind of probably like you, digesting and kind of kicking around that last weekend for Arkansas baseball. But moving on, you got a couple of days off to try and ease that the pain, but I'm still kind of sorting through it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing the same thing. We've had a lot of texters and callers trying to do the same thing, and it takes a little bit of time, to work through it. And, first you got to work through the disappointment of not reaching a level where you felt the team should be and how it all happened and everything. And, I'm not in a forward-looking mode yet. I'm still looking backward. If I look forward, I'm like, wow, there's just a lot to rebuild here, and you just trust the coaches to rebuild a good team. But when I look backwards, I think to myself, man, they kind of had Kansas State right where they wanted them, and I think if that fifth inning on Saturday goes differently, we might be having a different conversation today.
Kind of felt like the same thing. Even after the first game, though, against SEMO, I told a few people, I thought, boy, they're in trouble. And this came after a 17-run outburst and a win. I just kind of felt like they used a lot of their A-team pitchers that I thought they would save for Saturday or Sunday. And then my fortunes kind of changed, Phil, because before Arkansas even plays again with Hagan on Saturday, La Tech is out. 2 in Barbecue is the 2 seed. The 3 seed had been there all night, had to come back early to play another game and go home and then come back again. It didn't feel like the perfect scenario to face Hagan Smith. And then with all of what Arkansas looked to have in their favor, it certainly did not work out. And, it's just disappointing, I think, when they hadn't lost back-to-back home games all year and just 3 total home games all year to see back-to-back home losses in the season. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't lose back-to-back home games last year either at all. So It had been a long time since that had happened, and it felt like there were some moments where things were really in their favor. And I'm with you. If that fifth inning goes differently, if they're able to win, and, there's so much power to being up 2-0 in the regional, but, boy, it didn't happen. And then Sunday was just not much fun.
No, it really wasn't. And I don't know if anybody could say like they saw that, coming the way that it did come. But, Robert and Fort Smith had called up about this earlier, and I wonder about this too. It's not just this year and the year before. It's also 2021. That's 3 seasons out of the last 4 that Arkansas has not lost back-to-back games at home until the end of the season at home with back-to-back losses or 2 losses. And, I mean, what is it about the post? Is it better teams? Because I don't think that they faced better teams this weekend. I think with TCU, yeah. NC State, yeah, they just ended up catching fire. I didn't think the 2 teams that Arkansas lost to this last weekend were better than them. What is it about playing at home in the postseason right now, Brett?
No, it's a great question. I think it's one that all coaches that get knocked out have to go and ask themselves. You're right. Last year you could kind of claim that TCU was the hot team, and they were, and NC State was a hot team a couple of years ago when they got through Arkansas in a super. I don't think that'll be the case with K-State or with SEMO. And, Arkansas did lose 9 of 13 down the stretch, and all of those teams are either in the postseason or they would reach the postseason. I just don't know, Phil, and I think probably you and I together, I was thinking of this earlier today, I bet we probably combined have called 7,000 baseball games. It gives us, I hope, perspective on the sport and the game, but it doesn't mean we have the answers either. And I'm wondering if Arkansas isn't in a similar spot to maybe what the Dodgers are in or what the Dallas Cowboys are in, because I think Oliver sent out after the regional, Arkansas has won more games than anybody else in college baseball since 2017, and I'm guessing that's 2018 on, which is the exact time I got here and started doing games. So while I've been here joining you, they've been the best, winningest college baseball team in the country. Hasn't always translated to Omaha or titles, and I guess like the Cowboys or like the Dodgers, you have to ask yourself, is what you're doing in the regular season to be successful, does that hurt you in the postseason? Is it just the randomness of a weekend and not playing well at the right time? And this is where I think coaches and managers and whatnot earn their money, because that's if you change the way you attack the regular season, you're risking not hosting, you're risking maybe not winning as many games. But do you roll it back the same way with different personnel and the same processes and hoping for different results next year in the regional? I don't know. But everything I thought I knew, Phil, I've had to kind of ask myself, because to me it felt like hosting was the most important thing, being a top 8 seed. Arkansas has had that the last couple of years, and it just hasn't quite translated.
Yeah, but you remember what happened in 2022. It's like everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people gave up on that team. And because they had seen the results on the field, they'd lost a home series to Vanderbilt. They lost to Alabama when they had a chance to win a division. It just was a team that was struggling. Then they goes 2-out in Hoover, and then they end up in Omaha by playing on the road. It's just like these last 4 seasons, you look at the results in the regular season compared to the postseason. And that's where I think to myself, it's like, yeah, any experience you got with this game just doesn't matter because you really don't ever know. And some people will say, oh, you could see this coming 2 months ago. Well, I guess they're brilliant then because there are a lot of people who've been watching tens of thousands of baseball games over the course of their career that didn't see this coming.
Well, I didn't. I mean, we weren't immune to what their struggles were and their areas of concern, but I felt like coming off Hoover, you get home, you rest. And Dave talked about this being tired, and as he explained it, it made sense to me. But they did have some extra time off. That the draw was favorable. It was at home. K-State was a 3 seed. The 2 seed gets knocked out. K-State barely got in the regional of 64 teams, and I didn't know. I didn't see it coming. And I don't know, Phil, if there is an element of pressure. We talked about this a couple of months ago. With women's basketball, they're really trying to figure out if they can get away from the 16 host sites, the top 16 teams hosting. They want a little more of a neutral feel like the men's tournament. And I just watched a couple of teams, and Iowa was one of them with Caitlin Clark, where I felt like they played their worst in those 2 games at home. And it's because everybody expects you to win, and you're supposed to win, and teams come at you. And when things go a little bit sideways, does that pressure turn against you? And, I almost feel like in women's basketball, when you get through that hosting, you kind of relax a little bit because the pressure is off. I don't know how you quantify that or how you understand it, but, I mean, we all see it when Arkansas falls behind 6-2 or they fall behind early to SEMO, how it becomes a tough situation to try and navigate, and all of a sudden that slide feels like a real uphill run in rain, and it's not a lot of fun. So we talked last week, I think, about the importance of getting off to good starts and not playing from behind. They didn't do that Sunday, but they were up 2-0 going into the 5th inning with Hagan on Friday, and that was on Saturday night, and that was the game that probably tilted everything against them.
The tension convention is what you're describing here.
That's right.
Yep, you brought it up last week. We could feel it too. You got to have something that breaks that tension, and I thought a 2-0 lead would do that, but it doesn't. It's throwing the scoreless inning after the 2-0 lead that breaks the tension. And that's what I was saying to myself after when he got on the mound. It's like, oh, throw a 0 here, man, please. Got to break that tension, and it just didn't happen. Hey, I'm in on the Pirates right now. I've decided to go in on the Pirates. I don't know if it's because out of boredom or out of real belief that maybe they're worth some of my attention. But hey, when I see Paul Skeens pitching the way that he's pitching right now, and the division they play in too is a reason why. I think that's 5 teams all within 7 games here in early June. It feels like maybe that could be like an entertaining division to watch. I think, do I have real reason to maybe, believe in my major league team right now?
Yes, you need to be optimistic because they don't always have this wave of talent coming through. And I was watching last night, Skeens, the MLB Network picked up the game, and I've got a Dodger game next week, so I was watching them, but it was fun to watch Skeens go after Ohtani and Mookie Betts and whatnot. But I got excited seeing the crowd, and there may have been quite a few Dodger fans there, but it was a great crowd for a midweek game at PNC. The team's got some good young pitchers and good young players, and they probably aren't as talented as some of the teams, but you're right. They're in a good division. There's a little bit of momentum behind them. You need to be in on that team.
All right, so maybe I'll get in on it at some point. I don't have a plan to go watch them yet, but we'll see. Got a lot of time on hand here, and I'm just used to watching baseball by now, so that's why I went to see the Travelers yesterday. You're a guy that's at ball games, football games, basketball games, softball games, soccer games. What the heck do you do with your time in the summer? And how many baseball games will you attend? Because I think that's part of the answer.
Yeah, a lot, right? I've got my schedule in front of me, and it's a grid. So Saturday I start the Perfect Game Junior National Showcase, and that's a week-long effort, albeit remotely. And in between, I'm flying to L.A., and I'm working the Dodgers-Rangers game as a sideline guy next Wednesday on MLB Network, and I've got to cram that into 7 days of youth baseball. But I'm looking at my grid. Even I have Pittsburgh at St. Louis next week. See, you need to be there. That was one that I'm going to miss out on. The Yankees are in Kansas City next week, and then start cramming in a few more games. I try and get to all the big league stadiums within 7-8 hours. St. Louis, Kansas City, Texas, Houston, whatnot, and Colorado. And then I've got an Appy League All-Star game, and I've got an RBI World Series at Vero Beach, and I've got some showcases for Perfect Game in Atlanta. So whether you're 11 years old or 41, I'm probably going to watch you play at some point.
Hey, Brett, those showcases, like the Perfect Game showcases, I've heard the Arkansas coaches tell me about those. I mean, it's like a week with, 7 or 8 games that they're watching each day. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I know you're out there scouting talent in a lot of cases, and these kids, some of them are kids that you'll be calling games for in the SEC at some point, and some of them will get to the big leagues. But that's these complex tournaments that they play in. I know that they're all the rage and have been for a while now. It just seems like it's a lot going on.
Well, it's a lot. I mean, this is the best of the best, and these will be juniors to be, and then later in the summer there'll be seniors to be. And there's a lot of future Razorbacks, which is, for me, fun. And you're right, there's a lot of former or future SEC players, and we can kind of see them when they're 14, 15, 16, and whatnot. But they'll do a skills day. They'll run 60s. They'll throw from the outfield or infield or catch. They'll take BP, and then they'll play a couple of games. And usually see pretty good pitching. So it's kind of the wave of what we've seen over the last decade. But for me, it's fun because there are a handful of future Razorbacks that'll be part of it, or other very good players. And, you got to see Mike Trout before he became Mike Trout. For us, in these youth events, it's trying to see the next Hagen Smith before we know who he is or all about at the college level. So it's fun, and it kind of keeps me busy when I'm not bouncing around for other kids' games or other baseball games.
On that vein, too, I mean, I know a lot of the Arkansas coaches will be at some of these games, too, because, look, the draft is coming up. It's about 5 weeks. This is such an important time. I'm not going to throw this as a positive that, the coaches don't have to worry about games this weekend so they can go recruit. I don't believe that. But, this is a crazy time for college coaches. The portal's open. Anybody can leave your program right now if they want to. You can go get guys. And then for a program like Arkansas, you routinely, you got to be worried about like half or more than half of your incoming recruiting class getting poached by the major leagues. And, you're trying to talk to those kids and see where they are as far as what they're thinking.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, last year I was at the National Showcase, which was seniors to be, and it was in August, and it was at the Diamondbacks Park in Phoenix. LSU had several guys. 6, 7, 8 guys part of this event, and I saw Jay Johnson there, and I'm like, how many of you guys are you going to get to campus? And, he kind of rolls his eyes and looks, and he's wondering the same thing, but he's there to see his kids and show his support, and there's other college coaches that are bouncing around wondering the same thing. Are they going to be able to keep these guys or not? And then kind of get a good look at them against absolutely the best competition they have faced up until the point they get to campus. And, it's not uncommon for me to see Nate Thompson or Matt Hobbs or some of the other guys around at some of these showcases with 16-year-olds or 17-year-olds, and, it's kind of fun.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.